Come on in.
My name is Elise. I'm 26. I'm French and I have a steadfast determination to become a pilot. As far as I can remember, I've always been attracted to airports. When I was a little girl, we lived next to the airport of Strasbourg, and almost every Sunday I accompanied my dad, going there to buy cigarettes. I remember that we both watched and the next departures, and we had wonderful moments, imagining taking off and flying together. Later, when I was around 15, I was interested in becoming an air hostess. What made me dreaming about such a career was the idea of starting to work at a point A while ending up at a point B a couple of hours later, which could be at the other side of the planet. Let's say you could wake up in London and go to bed in New York. What an excitement! But at this stage of my life, becoming a pilot simply didn't feel like an option. I didn't know any pilot, I saw no advertising, and at school there was no mention of it. So my education achievement led me to undertake business studies. I managed to board the EM Strasbourg Business School, a renowned French institution. There, I learned about management, decision-making, and working efficiently in teams of talented individuals. I also learned a lot about myself, as I had the opportunity to go abroad during a whole academic year. I chose China as a destination, and that was one of the most beautiful yet challenging experiences in my life. I finally graduated last year, mastering in marketing, and since then I've been successfully working in this field in France. Many will be satisfied with such a life trajectory, but I can't help feeling that. Being grounded on the floor, I miss my true ambition. Our time is limited, and I don't want to waste it living someone else's life. In fact, I started loving aviation the first time I sat down in a Ruben aircraft, piloted by a good friend of mine back in 2010. I loved so much the sensation of being up in the air and seeing the earth from above. But it's my boyfriend that made me realize that becoming a pilot as a young and motivated woman was possible. I met him 2 years ago in the forward galley of an Airbus N320 during a flight back from Iceland. Back then, he was working for EasyJet, and he had trained in the UK, the country leading the way for women in the aviation business. Our long talks after his day of flying and his breathtaking pictures from 38,000 feet helped me realize that the right-hand seat of a jet aircraft was the place I really belonged to. The first step I've taken on this path was to register at our local flying club, and I started flying as a student pilot. I clearly remember the exact moment during that very first flying lesson when I felt I was truly doing what I always wanted to do. Besides the love of flying, everything about the job itself motivates me to give the best of myself to achieve this goal. Being a pilot isn't just about the technical know-how for flying an aircraft at 500 knots. It's also crucial to develop a lot of other skills, not only technical but also human-oriented. A pilot must be able to predict, anticipate and react in any situation. She should know how to ensure the safety of the hundreds of passengers who are present in the cabin. Most of all, being a pilot means learning all the time about new technologies, natural weather facts, but also about human sciences, since being a pilot is also a matter of teamwork. Last but not least, I reckon that my strong desire to discover our world is also a deep motivation for this undertaking. In fact, I think I've always been fascinated by travels, and I've taken every opportunity I had to discover the world. From a 3-month internship in Canada when I was 17 to a whole year in Southwest China for studies, followed by months of backpacking in Southeast Asia when I was 22, and much more. So I would say traveling light as a backpacker gives me the feeling of being closer to the culture of the country I visit. Every time I come back with plenty of unforgettable memories and cherished relationships. I truly like everything about travels. The people you meet, the culture you discover, the landscape you fall in love with, the changes you make, and the lesson you bring. Traveling is more than going to new places for me. It's connecting, learning, transforming, and also growing. On top of that, I love to share this passion with others. I share it with my relatives, like when I did a backpacking tour of Cuba in a mother-daughter trip last year. I also share this passion on a larger scale by editing a travel blog I launched 5 years ago. There, I recount my own experience in a way that can benefit my readers, as I give lots of advice on possible itineraries, places of interest, budget planning, and so on. The blog receives about 6,000 monthly visits from all over the world. Well, I'm aware of the privilege that this scholarship represents, and I believe that the counterpart is hard work, dedication, and commitment. I'm determined to reorient myself professionally and follow my heart. I want to realize my dream, and this scholarship will give me the financial backing to do so. But beyond that, I see also a chance to make my passion resonate with other women. CAE is looking for 5 women ambassadors, and sharing my passion is exactly what I excel at and love doing, the way I did in my travel blog for over 5 years. I will be honored to be one of the 5 ladies giving the spotlight to the Women in Flight program and proudly with the colour of CAE in the European sky. I want to prove that with faith, determination and dedication, everyone can get where they want to be. As one of the 5 lucky women who will be able to be supported by this scholarship, I'll try to inspire and keep up a good spirit for all the persons who will follow my journey through social media accounts, but also with a dedicated blog and some vlog. My experience as a travel blogger will help me to build content that makes sense to people. I'll explain and describe where I'm living, but I also want to give answers to the questions I get from all around the world. As a scholarship recipient, I will take my position as a CAE ambassador to be a role model for inspiring the next generation of women to join the aviation industry. I want to be entrusted to share my passion for aviation, from the flight training to the flight deck, and throughout the entire journey in between. I also hope to attend aviation events and share regular updates about those incredibly changing moments. In fact, I really would love to build a community of women who are interested not only in the aviation field, but also who share all the qualities that look key to me: involvement, enthusiasm, dedication, and resolve. I personally think that this figure is way too low. We are now in 2019, and we perfectly know that whether you are a man or a woman, we acquire skills the same way, through intensive training. We have to remember that amongst all the pilots who made and built the history of aviation, a fair number were women. To name just a few: Adrienne Bolland, Amelia Earhart, Jacqueline Auriol. What an inspiration they are. But commercial aviation has come a long way in recent years, as there are more women in the industry now than ever before. We have to keep going in this way, and this scholarship is an outstanding example of how this can be achieved. Charlotte Nelson, known as Charlotte the Pilot. Her path sounds a bit similar to mine, as being a commercial pilot isn't a first job. Her previous one helped her in some way for the challenges she faced. She was a CAE student, and she is now an EasyJet pilot, which both I am aspiring to become. Also, she related an event with 2 male customers who made sexist comments on a flight. A Twitter thread became viral, and she got now more than 50,700 followers. She is a true example of how a female pilot can react when faced to external judgment. She kept a cool head and stood right in her position of an ally pilot during that event. Yet she took the opportunity to help change mentalities. One particular project inspires me, and I would love to be a part of it one day in my life. It's the Latécoère Rally. Aviation connecting people and continents. That was the leitmotif of the humanist Pierre-Georges Latécoère when he created in 1990 the Latécoère airline, which will become the famous Aéropostale, linking Toulouse in France to Dakar in Africa, then from Buenos Aires to Santiago del Chile in South America. Today, the Latécoère Rally represents the world's longest in-flight raid. It's a humanitarian project which puts both aviation and charity at the heart of the adventure. During stopover, cultural and charitable projects come to life through the line. Some stories make history because they deliver universal values such as entrepreneurship, sharing, self-over-achievement, and respect of others. The Latécoère Rally greatly carries those values, but it's also a matter of living the legacy of aviation through the very first routes taken by the pioneer of aviation. Back in these days, all the constraints faced by the ambitious Latécoère's challenge made him say, in a now famous sentence, "All the calculations show it can't work. There is only one thing left to do: make it work. And that will perfectly resume my application today. Hope to meet you soon.